a couple side notes. So first of all, this is my 10th town hall since I've been here. So from now on, I'm going to put a controversial topic on there. That way my attendance is good. Because typically I have about 8 to 10 people that come. So it's great to see everyone here. I really appreciate you being here. A huge thank you to our Board of Trustees members that are here. We have Ron, Kelly's here, Keely's here, John's here. Did I miss anyone that's here tonight? I just appreciate it. Anytime we have, it's interesting that when we look at colleges across the state and the country, when you have board members taking an interest to come to something like this, shows the quality of the board that you have. And so I really appreciate them being here. It's interesting, and I'm not making light of a very serious issue, but I joke around a little bit. That's just who I am. And so my wife and I were having dinner the other night. In 2010, I spent 12 years at Colby Community College. And in 2010, I was an instructor who was an up-and-coming administrator. I just was taking on some new duties. And the president at the time at Colby said, "Brad, I need you to spearhead this committee and tell me if we should close the pool or not." And I went to my first meeting, and the newspaper came. They took a picture of just me, and the headline says, "Bennett leads charge to close the pool." And so I was having dinner, and my wife, being much smarter than she is, she's like, 14 years later, you haven't learned a whole lot, have you? That's very fair. That's true. And then we have 2 daughters. One's 10 and one's 8. That's how I hurt my foot. But the youngest, we were having dinner the other night. We're trying to explain to them about, we wouldn't be home tonight. We had this going on. She's like, "What a stupid idea, Dad. Like, people should come and tell you how they feel." So it is pretty interesting. And I'm going to go through and open the conversation. We'll have plenty of time for comments. I'm willing to stay as long as you want me to tonight. So there's not a hard stop. About 9 o'clock, I do start to fade on you a little bit. I start looking for my sleepy time tea, and I'm kind of ready to wind down for the night. But I'll stay here and talk about it as long as you want. And one other thing you're blessed with, one of my negatives as a public speaker is I walk around too much. And now that I'm on a scooter, we don't have to worry about that. Will not be an issue tonight. So kind of a little bit of what we're going to do. We're going to talk about an overview, why we're having this conversation now, possible issues, community needs, and then an action plan going forward. And I apologize. It was never our intention as a college, and if I miscommunicated this on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it wasn't like we just woke up one day and said, "Let's have this conversation, then let's vote on it next month, and let's see if we have the pool closed in 6 weeks." That was never the thought process. And so I kind of want to walk through to make sure we all understand how that we got here. So a little bit of the process. I guess it was last summer. Keely, John, correct me if I'm wrong, we were at a board retreat. And on our item, so if you look at some master planning done by the college in the last 20 years, most of it going back to 2011, 12, and even before that, had plans to eliminate the indoor swimming pool, and for various reasons. And through my research, I've learned the life expectancy of an indoor pool is 35 years. Ours is 52 years old. And so that's part of the reason why we're having this conversation. So the board said, what's your plan, Brad? And I said, I don't have a plan yet. I need to start working on that. So in the fall, we started gathering some data, and probably, Maddie, you were in that meeting, and Liz was in that meeting. In September, October, we brought USD 480 and the city to the table. And we said, okay, this is the issue that we have. We have a pool that's 52 years old. It's costing lots of money. We have a need. The need is clear, but what does this look like for the next 50 years? Do we continue down the same path of having the same pool, or is there a 3-way partnership out there that exists to where we can have a better quality pool, something that is competition sized, would meet more of our needs? Then in December, I went to the trustees and I said, okay, this is what we found out. This is about what the pool's costing us. This is who I think's using the pool, which is an estimate, because I guarantee you, how many of you walked in the pool without signing in or just didn't do it right? It happens, right? So I can't say, and that number does this, right? Last fall, Guyman Public Schools used our pool for the swim team. They're not this year. So those numbers fluctuate a lot, but this is who I think our usual people are. And this is what it's costing us. I said, do you want me to engage the community? Because for those of you that don't know me yet, and I think my staff can, Luke, I saw Luke a minute ago, he can attest to this. I'm transparent to a fault. That's just who I am. So before I make a decision, we've run it around, we've talked about it. I'm not going to do something like this without engaging the community. Because I was told to me that we already made our mind up, and I wouldn't be having this conversation. And honestly, someone asked me a few days ago, what do you really feel about it? I'm torn. I do see the value of the pool. I do see it. I also see an aging infrastructure. So I see it's an issue that we have to think about. And so that's what the conversations are. And it's not about, and honestly, and I know we put out a graphic that shows about what we're losing a year in the pool. And it's a big number, but in the big scheme of things, it's not that we're losing $125,000 a year. It's that we're losing it in an infrastructure that is 52 years old. And what does that infrastructure look like in another 15 years? Because I think at times in these jobs, trust me, it's easier to kick the can down the road. It's as much easier for, you know what, I'm going to let the next president address this when we're going to the pool how it is. That's a much easier conversation. But I want to make sure that we are making a decision that's in the best interest of our community, right? Because that's a key point to it. So that's kind of the background behind it. That's the goal. And by the way, the pool at Colby Community College is still open today. So my recommendation then was to keep the pool open. That's why I took the board. And I have to make that recommendation to the Board of Trustees on what I think we should do. And it takes us a long way to get from point A to point B. One thing too here under the goals. Yes, go ahead.
How old is the pool at Colby?
I think it might be 1 year newer than ours. So it's not
that new, or it's newer, I'm sorry, because they were doing the pool when I was a freshman at Colby in fall of 78.
Okay, so it's a few years newer. So still an older pool. Similar issues that ours has, similar issues. And our numbers, it's interesting, when we start lining our numbers up, our numbers across the community colleges kind of match. And we're seeing, and this is one thing that is clear, we're seeing a little bit of a drop amongst our college age students who like to swim. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just a generational deal. It's just a change. And then goals. And one thing that I want to point out when we talk about what's best for the community, one of the things that I envisioned in the fall when we started this conversation is, and I know there's a lot of work that has to do between point A and point B before we get there. But one of the things that I envisioned was, and it's interesting because at Colby Community College, we did a partnership on a gym, on an event center, because we shared a resource and we found a way to bring the entities together. So I've been through the framework. One of my hopes or goals is, and I'm going to speak for the Board of Trustees, and this would have to go to them. So I apologize if they disagree because we have not had this in-depth conversation yet. But I think if we had a 5 to 7 year plan in our community to build a new indoor pool, and I went to the Board of Trustees and said, within 7 years we should have a new indoor pool. The college has the appetite and the want to keep it functional for that time frame. So that's one of the goals and that's part of why I wanted to have a community conversation. I need to know the work that we need to do, not us as Seward County Community College, but as community leaders, what work do we need to do? If we feel like this is a good resource, a good use of funds, if we feel like that we have this need in our community, how do we get from point A to point B? Question so far. Okay.
Brad, do we understand correctly that the city and 480 are not interested in partnershiping with the college on the replacement of this pool?
No, so I think the initial conversation was that the interest wasn't there, but I think that's changed now. I think there's interest there that there wasn't there maybe 6 months ago. And I've had some of those conversations with, we haven't had an official meeting in that capacity. They've been phone calls and stuff like that. But I think that partnership could come back around.
Brad, I have a question.
Yes.
Do we compensate them anything for use of their soccer field?
Yes, we do.
So do they compensate
Yes, they do.
the county
Yes, they do. Yep. Now, the bad part is about a pool. We're never going to, and that's the thing I wanted to talk with our community about. And I know this sounds bad. We lose money in lots of different areas. We're a community college. That's what we do. You want to talk about a loss? Let's go look at our nursing program. Right? We lose $250,000 a year roughly on our nursing program. Okay. Now, spending a week in the ICU last fall, I was sure glad those nursing students were there. Right. I'm glad we have nurses, and that's I think one of the big weaknesses with our pool is that we're not able to generate any economic impact into our community. The impact that we see is in our daily lives. It's a value of how it makes us feel. It's a value of our kids having a swim team. But with the pool being too short for competition, there's no economic impact coming in to where the businesses aren't benefiting from it, the hotels aren't benefiting from it.
The base where the swimming pool came from was taxed. So there was a lot of tax money that went in to build that. So all of the taxpayers that are left holding that to just fold it up, you say there wasn't any income or realized income, that there's a lot.
Yeah, no, I guess what I should say, there's no economic impact coming into our community from outside sources now. Versus if you had a pool that was competition size, you would have some youth events, you would have some swim meets. Barton has a swim team. Our high school has a swim team. I think I could go to the board and say, if we had a competition style pool, that might be something that we might be interested in doing.
Is that a new bond issue to do that?
So it depends on what the finance avenue that it went through. So again, speaking on the past, in Northwest Kansas, when we built the community building, we were able to retire a sales tax and continue through the city. The partnership came in is that the college signed an MOU with the city to run the facility, to staff it, to maintain it. And so in that environment, the community college sold the acreage to the city for $1. The facility was built, and then it's managed by different entities.
So what's the delta between going from this to going to a competitive pool?
I mean, as far as I didn't hear your whole question. I have not done a deep dive into a new build, and I pulled some numbers. I think Kelly even sent me an article with some numbers on a new build. I would hate to speculate on what that price tag is. I think as we near that, I think also too, communities have those moments in time where we have to ask ourselves, are we going to do just what to get by on again? Or are we going to build something special that makes our community different and makes us stand out in the coming years? And that's, I think if we get to that point to where we're trying to form a partnership, I think having some focus groups of what this actually looks like and envisioning what it could be and going to look at some facilities. We have some great indoor facilities within Kansas, and there's one at OPSU, and there's some ideas that we can get with that, because I don't think, because we all make decisions as public community members with the best information that we have at the time, and I'm guessing in 1972 when we built that pool, it was probably, oh, this is the best ever, and over time we learned that's not the case. So.
I'd like to make a comment, or ask a question first and then make a comment. As the students that are enrolled at Seward County, how many are traditional, how many are non-traditional?
We're about and Luke, you're here, you can help me. We're about 60% traditional, 40% non-traditional, right?
It might be a little bit higher in traditional.
Okay. But 60-40 is that probably over the time is where we've been.
We're a community of aging, we're not 30 anymore.
I agree with that after this whole deal.
I see that brand new building sitting over there, and that's fine. I understand most of that was donated money, the Sharp, some of it.
Yes, most of it, the majority of us, yes.
Okay. I feel like we, the older people in the community, need that same type, or we need the pool. I've got arthritis, and when I go for those aqua sizes, I feel better. And I'm sure there's a lot of ladies I see here that go to those classes. And I'm just gonna say, as a nurse, that I feel like for the health of the community, it's a necessity to have a pool.
I fully agree. I fully agree. And again, I'm gonna go back to my comment is I'm not saying we don't need a pool. I'm just not so sure what we have is going to last us. That's my biggest concern on it. Yes.
So, I'm the aquatic supervisor for Adventure Bay. I'm currently the head boys and girls coach for the water park, for the swim team. It's a big necessity for us as well. We will be the only team in our WAC conference that will not have a pool. They got rid of it. So the pool is very important, but I completely understand it costing money. We don't make any money at the water park. We run negative all the time, but it's a community service to our community. It's the reason why we still keep it open. So if it's something that the district, the city, and the college can go in on to build a new facility, that's great. I agree. I think not having a pool is not an option, but I do understand the sense of we need something else because it is aging, it is old, and it'd be great to host competitions. It'd be great to bring some.
Absolutely, I agree.
To bring people here, because not only does it bring people here, but it brings money to the whole city as well by increasing shopping. So, go ahead.
Thank you.
I wanted to wait till I
You're okay.
end what I'm gonna talk about. So, I wrote it down if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
Find the money to keep the pool. Return on investment and reappropriation of funds. The money spent on the maintenance of lawns and the return is only aesthetic. The initial cost to replace our lawns with decorative rocks will quickly be offset by the savings on water, maintenance, and repairs. Replacing the pool filter system with an efficient system long enough to build a competitive pool, the return on that investment will be generations of use for the students and the community. So I know, you've been here and you've made a difference. You've made a difference in the ag department, you've made a difference with the tennis and the baseball. So I know that you know how to go out and get funds. Just a note, I looked into Phelps Foundation, Michael Phelps. His is more on pool safety to stop kids from drowning. I've been talking with Danielle, and I know you guys know this, the people that do grants, but like you said, I think that, because I know what I don't know what you're about, but you have done a lot for this college. So my vote is, maintain the pool, upgrade it until we can get
Yeah.
some.
No, I appreciate those comments, and you look at our budget is massive, right? And that's just the nature of and we're growing. Our enrollment's up about 20%, which is, thank goodness. I promised the board I would do that, and I would probably be looking for another job if I didn't. But there's a lot of moving parts in those budgets, and it's not that if we don't get rid of the pool, we got to lay someone off. That's not the conversations that we're having. And that's why I appreciate your view. Is that is it the best resource to have a pool that is the age of ours, or is there a better way to do this? And I think that's where the conversation's headed with it. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Sorry.
I'm sure.
And by the way, you should have seen the pool on Saturday, because we have our days where we're not very busy. Saturday was not one of them. We had 200 Boy Scouts and like 35 swim lesson kids going in.
Yeah.
So.
It was not dull moment. Speaking of that, when you're making a comment about economics, that is one of the things that we try to do once a year, and we've been doing it since 2018. We just to kind of give you ballpark numbers. Since then, we brought through that community. We brought 39 Eagle Scouts through that particular program through this pool, which is an amazing feat in this community and in this area. So the pool is very, very important to us. That being said, we would love to help come up with some more events that helps bring in economics, because we have 200 scouts. Yes, they camp out. They don't need hotels.
Sure.
They're self-sufficient in that. But they also walked all the way to Walmart, picked up their groceries. They also stopped, got Freddy's on the way out, stopped and got Pizza Hut. We fed them 55 Little Caesars pizzas for lunch. I mean, so still the economics was there as far as bringing money into the community. So I'm all about building into that area to the best that we can help out from the Scouts. So we appreciate the facility, and it is amazing for us, and we use it from kindergarten through high school and have been since 2018. So we appreciate it too.
Thank you for that comment. I do apologize it's warm in here tonight. That's 100% on me. So we have to de-winterize our system and winterize our boilers in that process. And I punted a few weeks ago, I pushed the chillers back to save a few bucks. So I didn't realize it would fall on a night that we were 85 degrees outside. Blame me, that's 100% my fault. I was trying to save a couple bucks, I apologize. They're actually getting set up next week, so I was a week late. So why now, right? So why are we having this conversation now? And Ron, you said that this came up on the board 32 years ago. So it's been talked about for a long time. We're doing lots of planning right now, and we have been aggressive planning for our future. Last fall or spring, I guess last spring, we had the next 50 years of Seward County Community College, and we had an envisioning meeting to talk about that. We're really looking at how our college and our community sets up for the future. We are having conversations right now. If you've been in our dining hall, or better yet, I think she left. Since I've been here, we have moved the food out of the walk-in refrigerators. This always happens at 2 o'clock in the morning. They never break at 10 o'clock in the morning. I think 4 different times, and we have a design flaw with those walk-in coolers. So our kitchen needs some work. And in that expansion, we're looking at building a wing of dorms because our dorms are full and we're over capacity in our dorms. And so these are all great problems to have, but we're looking at lots of different planning right now. And so we have the board as a group, we have a lot of big decisions to make in the upcoming months and years that are really going to change this campus. I told the board and the community, the campus when I got here, I didn't take this job because I thought it was just an okay job. This is the only president's job I've ever applied for, okay? You go around the state, that doesn't happen very often. Presidents typically are looking for their next place to go. I have not looked for that. Now, if we close a pool, you guys may want me to do that, I understand, but that's not what I'm currently doing. And so we're making long-term decisions on what this campus looks like. And it's not just about the size of our campus, but I know the more students we have on campus, the more students in our community, they're spending money at your businesses. Their campus life is improved, and so there's a lot of positives to that. And so that's why we're having this now. Go ahead.
Just one more thing. My family for over 28 years has spent a lot of money in Seward County on taxes for Seward County Community College. And my dad's a 79-year-old rancher, still chase a calf.
That's wonderful.
Come in here and go swimming.
Right.
But all of these people do.
Right.
And Keely does.
Right.
And so there needs to be a stopgap between shutting that down and doing this next venture, but also balancing. You talk about all of these things that lose money at Seward County. Balancing that across, keeping the pool open for all the people that support it. I mean, this group is the one that is paying for that pool to be open.
I don't disagree at all, sir.
So if we shut it down, you're just telling these people, no, you can't have what you paid for, it's going somewhere else.
I fully agree, and I'm sorry that, like I said, that if it was communicated that it was never our intention just to say, well, we're closing. That's not what we want it to be. That we want to make sure that we're envisioning of what this future looks like, and we're considering those. No, you're okay. You're okay, and that's what happens anytime we put public releases out, and right or wrong, Facebook is how we get a lot of our news, and I fully understand that, and so that's why I wanted the community here so we could have this conversation. You can understand, the view and the transparency, and honestly, even if, and I was talking to a community member who couldn't be here tonight today, and I've met or visited, some of you in this room, some of you aren't. I've met and visited with 92 community members in the last week. One night last week, I was on my cell phone until about 12:30 at night talking about the pool. So which I'm happy to do so. That's why I'm here. That's 100% why I'm here. Sorry about that. But I was telling the gentleman today is that he said worst case, and we decided to close the pool. What does that look like? I said, well, there's a lot of data we're still collecting before. I don't take my recommendations of the board lightly. So usually when I'm putting my stamp on something, we've done our due diligence and we feel strong about that. And I envisioned if we were, I'm not saying we are, but if the Board of Trustees said we want to close a pool, I would imagine we would pick some date in the future of when this would occur. And that we would allow time for us to even develop more relationships and not give up on that. And so, go ahead.
Just to cut through all of it, make it clear, there is a chance that this one will shut down before something else is available.
Well, I mean, it could go down tonight and be down for the next 6 months. I don't know. And so, I mean, there's no plans for that. And I don't see us having that as a recommendation to the board at this time. But again, I have to take that recommendation to the Board of Trustees, and that's a decision that they'll make. But I think all of our visiting with them individually, all of our goal is to have like a 5 to 7 year plan of our goal to have an indoor pool, and we would maintain this one and keep it open during that time frame. So now, if our goal is 20 years down the road, I might say, well, in 12 years, we may have to have this conversation again. You know, and that's my concern. If maintenance calls me tomorrow and they say, well, this went out, and now we're looking at $200,000. Okay, we need to have a board meeting and have this conversation, because that's another huge investment into that. So, Earl?
I know that we're talking mostly about the pool tonight, but I think there's even a broader picture here of a lot of the cross-pollination that we have between our entities. You guys use the high school soccer field. The school uses the city ball fields. I think maybe you ought to look at or consider either a commission or a group of all of you guys working together, the pool being a part of it, but all of our facilities together. If you guys want to really have an economic impact of sports, and that where you all have a seat at the table with all of our facilities, because the swimming pool is important, softball, baseball, soccer, all these other things that we share facilities, it's more than just the pool. The pool is a glaring example right now because of its condition. But I think that there's even a bigger picture, and I know as just a member of the community, I'd love to see all of you guys working together to talk these things out in a bigger picture. I know the city's doing a comprehensive plan. What a perfect thing to be talking about with a comprehensive plan of what do we do with all of our shared athletic facilities. And if there was a group of you guys all together to look at what's all of the needs together, and how can you all form a commission or a group like we did with the Seward County Development Corporation. Something where everybody has a hand together and then really maximizes the use of all these facilities together.
I think, excellent point. And I think hopefully that's where we're headed with this is the goal. So,
I think to add to Earl's, I think the goal is to split the costs. It shouldn't be just on you guys only. It should all of us.
yeah. And we have to, and to that we have to remember we're all taxing entities. So we send USD a 480 a huge bill for the pool. They send us a huge bill for soccer. Pretty soon, you know what I mean? We're just taxpayers' money is moving from one point to the other. So.
The bond issue, though, affects the individuals that are out there paying for it.
Yes.
All the shuffle doesn't, they still pay the
Sure.
same bill no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I only bring it up because I honestly believe this pool needs to stay open for all of these people. I've swam once, I loved it. She can outrun, well, unless it's 10 yards, then. There's a lot of good that comes from that for the community. And the community is the one that is supporting the financials of this. And if you lose that, I mean, you can still force a bond issue, but maybe. But it's got to be coordinated and integrated so that you're not just jumping from this pool to a $4 million bond issue to build a new one.
Sure. And I don't, again, our intention is not to have have a lapse in that. So now, if there's not a partnership to be had, then that's when the college, we really got to figure out what that looks like for our future, because if we can get a partnership going on this, that's when, you know, and like I said, and honestly, I think, and Liz probably can throw something at me. If I said, Liz, the next 5, 6, 7 years, we probably could get through, we get 10, 12, you know, that pool gets to 62, 63, 64 years old. You know, I don't know what kind of issues that we could, sorry, that's my email, I apologize. I don't know what kind of issues that we could possibly have. And so, but I think that's our intention, I guess. That's our goal, and that's what I'm hopeful for. So, other questions before I go on?
I was kind of curious, I know that athletics used to use that pool quite a bit for their conditioning. Are they still doing that?
It depends on the coach. Some coaches don't use the pool at all. Coach Davison, baseball team, uses it a lot. Liz, who's using it right now? I don't.
Basketball's, volleyball, basketball's in there right now.
Okay, so it just depends. Like last fall, it wasn't utilized near as much as our athletes. It just kind of depends on what that preference is with the coach that we have at the time.
That was quite, a lot of the teams were using that about every night. Seemed like somebody was in the pool.
Now I know, and so I spent 12 years. So I guess that was, well, I'm kind of dating myself now. I guess I became a higher educator in 2007. I worked at a K-12 before that. And I remember when I was at Colby in 2007, we had a lot more general students using the pool. And that number, for whatever reason, I guess we could ask some of our students that are here, that number has dropped over the years. And that's not unique to Seward County Community College. We're seeing that across all of our sectors. And so I don't know why that is. It's just a generational change and students' preference or not. So, other questions on this part? Yes?
About how much have you spent in the last year or so on the repairs to the pool, do you know?
I think, and don't hold this to me, I can get that exact number for you. I think we spent about $30,000 on it in the last year and a half or so, give or take. And that number changes. Some years low, some years high. It just depends on what breaks in it. I know, Liz, was it last year or 2 years ago when we had our water leak we couldn't find forever? And 2 years ago, we were losing a lot of water, and that one was kind of pricey. And then other years it won't be as bad. So. Yes.
Earl, that was a great what you said, but off of what you're saying, what would happen if the college expanded the new sports facility that was just opened?
Okay.
And with the city and all the other resources amongst the county or what you suggest were to like just expand and make a whole new swimming pool. And then, in the time being, keep this pool open and build this new swimming pool off of the new sports center. And then, after that's all done and we transfer over to the new swimming pool, we would make the swimming pool, redesign this whole building into what you said, remodel the kitchen and then add on to like more dorms.
You and I would be best friends. You're talking exactly what I mean. That's kind of where we're going with this, and that's part of the reason why we're having the conversation now is because the infrastructure is aging, like we talked about. That's such prime real estate for our general students and our students that come through here. That having the pool set off a little bit would open us up to serve our campus in a much better way. So. Other questions?
Wasn't that part of phase 3?
Now, to be fair, I've gotten confused on the phases over the years, but I think I remember seeing a drawing that had that as a phase down the road. So, other questions on this area? So this, real quick, we set this out. This just shows kind of our repairs on average, who's using the pool. Again, the patrons of the pool, I'm not saying our tracking is the best in the world. We do the best we can. I had someone tell me the other day, you guys could market the pool better. I'm sure we could. I'm not disputing that. I think Danielle came up with an idea to have an underwater Easter egg hunt. So that's a great example. Like we're trying to envision ways that we can get more people to enjoy the pool, more people to take advantage of it. The fees, I put class tuition and state aid. There's some of our classes we get a little bit of state aid for those students. So our total revenue, you can see our net there, and then who's using the pool. Again, these are rough numbers. These are averages of what we're seeing. These are our projections of what we're seeing. There would be a deeper dive into this as we work towards this. Pros, like you guys talked about, just real quick, exercise option. Plus, I always dislike college campuses when you go, that's where that used to be. That's where that building was there, that apartment, like our old dorms. We said that used to be a dorm until we couldn't live in it anymore. Now it's a storage facility. And so I don't like that part of it. And so, but exercise options, training facility, there's some things that we do with our firefighters and stuff. And we train all of the city lifeguards through there for the most part. And so would be a huge loss in our community. We would have to plan for that. There's a lot of disabled folks that are able to use it, which is wonderful. The Boy Scouts we talked about. There's birthday parties, attraction for students and staff, healthy environment, healthy workforce. Those things that we talk about are important. Concerns we talked about, the repairs, the length, the chemical cost. Although that's getting better, we are still, at times it's hard for us to find lifeguards. We especially in the summer, our students are gone and we share with the city. And so we struggle. I had a community member told me yesterday, your problem with the pool is you guys are closed too much for repairs. And I said, exactly, that's why we're having this conversation. I fully agree. Decline in public use over the last 10 years, we've seen those numbers drop. Are we aging out in that demographic? But as we said, we're all going to get older too. I think Marvin Chance Jr. said at the board meeting, like, we're all one injury away from needing the pool. And then the location of itself, because I did, one of the early conversations that we had as a board was, what would it cost to expand the pool? And I've been unsuccessful in a company telling me that was an option. I've had a few companies come and look at it and go, nah, you just can't do it. You're better off building new. And so I think the location, how it's kind of built around, has limited our capabilities on like a massive remodel not being a possibility. So, and this is what we've been talking about. I think we've done a good job, and I'm open to hear more on it, on what our needs are as a community. And I want to make sure I've stated this. I understand the value of the pool. I fully understand the value and I think it was probably just Liz and I having a conversation early on. And I said, Liz, I'm really mixed about this. And she's like, me too, because we see the value of the pool. That's not the question. Is that the best use of our resources as a community going forward? What's a long-term solution? And then I guess my steps forward on this is I'll provide a report. I'm going to tell the board there was at least 3 or 4 people there, give or take. That was a joke. I'm teasing. We'll go through. I'll compile a report for the board on not just this information, on other conversations I've had. And then I think my next steps forward is to form some kind of task force, back to Earl's point, and bring our other entities to the table and put our heads together and see if we can come up with a solution to address this problem that we currently have. Okay, questions, comments, concerns I didn't get to hit on?
I'd just like to thank you. You're up there all by yourself and you've got all of us back here. So you're getting all of the fire shots. But from a taxpayer standpoint, all of the benefits that you listed for all across the community, the young to the old, that's what everybody believes they're paying for. And they're willing to do that. But if you all of a sudden come across a line and say this is out and there's a huge bond issue, you're going to meet a lot of resistance, I think. you know, last year in agriculture hasn't been great, and hopefully next year will be better, but it's risky. So I think a logical way to bridge that gap between this and a new pool and grants and fundraising and crossing the community to support it.
I just had an idea.
Yeah.
Okay, every other, well, like the Greer House, they took donations and they had levels of sponsorship. Why can't we do that here? Go to the churches, go to the like the VFW, the American Legion, and build support that way.
There, absolutely we can. And just these, we needed to, as a community, we need to make sure the direction that we're headed. So that way, because I will be honest with you, in my fundraising experience, it is, well, fundraising is always tough, right? I mean, it's always hard. It's always hard to raise funds. I think, I don't know, I have my yearly total, or my career total written down in my office, because you have to build clusters of people that are interested in that unique project. But in my experience, it's much easier to fundraise for a new facility than it is to fundraise for an old facility or fundraise for the maintenance of an old facility, and that becomes a very difficult. And so, and again, it's not that 125. I hate losing 125,000. I do. I hate that. You know, anytime, and we do a cost benefit analysis on every one of our programs. I dislike losing money, and I always joke around our campus. We're a nonprofit, but we're also not for loss. Like that doesn't mean those are we can be both. But it's not. Again, it's not that number that we're losing. It's that we're losing that money, and I'm speaking on behalf of the board now, which is I don't have them all here, and this is not a board meeting, so it's not fair for me to do. But I think if we had in this partnership, you know, after we got past the build, I think if whether it was through chemicals or maintenance or staff or whatever, and I went to the board of trustees and said, okay, here's our plan. We're gonna have this new facility. It's going to cost us $125,000 a year to have this new facility. I think our board would probably be okay with that. I think it was like, oh, that's a good use of our funds. We can see, and so it's not, I think at times I think even me, I get caught up on that number, and it's not necessarily that part. Is that the best use of those resources, or are we better off having a newer facility that we can use them in different ways? Yes. I should know better than let you talk. I should just go, I already called on you, so you have to now. There you go.
Yeah, I think we need to look at all of the programs that have been restarted, you know, renewed, and those kind of things. You know, the ag program over here was basically dead in the water, you know, and you took it upon yourself to find a couple that came in, and they have literally revitalized that side of the campus. You know, I look at the truck driving school and see where that's going from here. You know, there's, you know, I think probably your diesel mechanic classes, you know, welding. You can just go on and on and on about, you know, how student participation and sometimes community participation has, you know, kind of been revived with a new facility, or, you know, the swimming pool. I think that has the same potential, because, you know, there's not too many people that still driving the same cars that they did in 1975. You know, sometimes a little update don't hurt anything. And, you know, I'm not a swimmer. My dad told me not to go in the water until I learned to swim, and I took that to heart. But, anyway, you know, I can see this pool as being something special, as all of these others, the ag program, the truck driver program, you know, whatever it might be, with the new facility and new enthusiasm. I see no reason why that couldn't benefit the community just as much, even though it costs money. You know, but, you know, you were talking the other day down at the show about you know, the importance of getting a return on your investment. It's not about what you get per se for people coming to the pool, but it's about them spending money elsewhere in town. you know, a tank of gas here and there, or a meal or two, or, you know, whatever it might be. So, you know, I've talked to quite a few people, and to my amazement, I have not heard one individual say, boy, I don't want that because it's gonna raise my taxes, which is quite unusual when
It
you
is.
start talking about government spending money.
Yep.
And so, you know, I think that, you know, the board should take a serious look at building a new one if that's what it takes. You know, I don't think you can probably, you know, fix the old one because of the confinement area that it's in. But if you know, get it up to date and get a pool that you can have contests and, you know, tournaments in and that kind of thing, I think you go a long ways in continue to improve Seward County Community College.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Pat.
Growing pains are painful, and it's a good thing to have, but it hurts going through the process. At Hooker, when they closed the city pool, a good friend of mine, we lifeguarded 14 years, and we closed that facility down. When the geysers coming up out in the city park, it was time to shut that pool down. And it took a farmer, so if you know anybody, ranchers, farmers, anybody that wants to sell a quarter of land or whatever, because that's how it got started at Hooker. A man sold a big piece of land, and I'm proud to say it was my husband's uncle, and that money all went, and that started that funding. But the pool here, I want to commend Liz, the lifeguards, the time they put in, the maintenance men. I know, because my husband, the Hooker School, had an Olympic-sized pool that I know Mike Hale, when he did scuba classes here, if something was down with the pool here, they would come over to Hooker. And it was an Olympic-sized pool. We had synchronized swimming. We had races. We had competitive swimming with schools around. But I'm going to tell you, my husband worked maintenance once he retired from the farm, and that pool was a major expense. My friend was superintendent, and when the gas bill for that heating, 1 month, that went $8,000. 1 month. And the rest of the months were 6, 5, 4. You figure that in, it's costly. And she really was, I mean, just like Brad and our board, they're the caretakers of the money for this institution. So I appreciate the decisions. It's not going to be easy, and I know you feel like you have a target on your back. But I, for one, commend you, and I appreciate what you're doing, because I know, I've heard, you can't get parts. When you got a pool that's 55, 60 years old, there are some parts, they're not out there. And sometimes if they have to custom make a piece, it's costly.
Thank you for that.
I know, because I've heard Tom.
Sure.
And they've closed the Hooker School pool, and it is now a wonderful facility for all the athletes. It's a weight room. It is something to see. Every highway patrol in Texas County comes over there, and that's where they work to stay in shape. It's sad that the pool had to go, but the city pool built a new pool, and it's a wonderful facility now. But if you know anybody, spread the word to your family. You know, they can give money to the foundation, and that can be earmarked.
Absolutely, 100%.
For this very thing.
Yep. So interesting enough. I promise I will not do this in our way to save money here. When I was presenting at the Colby Community College board, and like I said, I was a teacher, just kind of working my way up. And in my report, and I had to go through all the financial analysis and long-term, all these things, all this data. And I had what we called the gas reduction plan. And I kind of thought maybe the board, being a teacher, they wouldn't really see. They said, "What's the gas reduction plan?" I said, "Well, our plan is over the next 12 weeks, we're going to lower the pool 1 degree every week, because if we do it 12 degrees at once, our swimmers are going to be mad at us. But if we do 1 degree a week, nobody will notice." And so that's our way to reel back some of those gas expenses. I promise I won't do that here. Question in the back?
Well, coming back, I am with Scuba Ventures that does the scuba diving here in town. Mike which if this pool, we have no pool, it kind of puts a damper on us, especially in the winter time. Because we've got some people that we can borrow their pools, but it's kind of a hassle to
Sure.
to them. I mean, it's a community, you know, for us. In fact, I was out here a couple of weeks ago, and I hadn't been in the water for a while, so me and my wife and my son come out here and got in the pool. And I have to agree, it does need work. There is a lot of leakage around right in the corners of your vertical walls to the bottom. I mean, you can just see it when you're moving around. So something does need to be done, I agree. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not us per se that can really do it. And if we are, we're willing to, if it, redo this one, build a new one, if we have classes or even not. I mean, we can come down, take the brush and scrub the bottom of the pool while we are doing classes.
Okay.
If we need to.
Thank you for that.
But, I mean, that's just help vacuum it and keep it clean on the bottom too, so.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't
Oh.
work. I did it for years when I was helping in Amarillo. So I think not having a pool is not an option. I think everybody here wants a pool, needs a pool, and I know speaking for my team, we would love to have competitions here. We would love to bring a diving team so we can have diving competitions as well. And by having that diving well, we can also have that scuba distance they need as well. I think having a pool, not having a pool is not an option, I feel. It's so, if I have to dig a hole, I'll dig it. But, I mean, USD 480 might have land, I know the city might have land, you guys have, there's land out there, we have it.
Yeah, the college is not short on land. That's one of our strengths. The bad thing is, back to your point, we have to mow it all. That's one of the issues, but 100%. And I know, and I guess that's why I want to have this conversation, because a lot of you don't know me very well. Dorla, you know me very well. Some of you know me for a long, long time. You've known me just as long as my wife has, and so it's you're in a unique position to comment on this. But you know, I'm not afraid of the work and having the conversations and bringing that it takes, you know, to pull the entities together, to do the data. Again, and I know I'm not trying to compare apples and apples. I just know when at Colby, when the decision was made to build a new event center, that was a $22 million building in a community of 5,000 people. Yeah, there was some pushback when we started that conversation. Trust me, we had some late nights in town halls having a conversation on figuring out how we could do it and what was best. At the end of the day, that community decided it was the right decision for the community to have that. And so I'm not afraid of the work. I'm not afraid to put the time and effort in. Like I said, I started that conversation before we got very far in the fall, and then it was, you know, I think the appetite's probably changed a little bit since I had those initial meetings. I think it's time to have those conversations again. There's some things that we'll need to do. This stuff doesn't happen quick. We have to do a needs assessment. There's some surveying and polling in the community that has to be done to where we have some data. Especially if you start looking at a new build, all those grants require that type of information, and so it'll be a drawn out process. It's not going to happen overnight. It'll be a long process of that. And I said the college is in no rush to make this decision. It was honestly on my list, and I think I made a comment in December. I said I've been meaning to bring this up. You know, we have a lot going on. We could wait a while. I'm not a wait back and type of person. I don't have that ability in me, so I kind of just keep on working on issues. And so this is not. The added community member asked me today if this was on your board agenda for next Monday. It is not, nor will it be. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to be proactive to I feel like our role as a community college is to be part of the solution and to be forward thinking, and not just what Seward County Community College or Liberal Kansas or Seward County looks like today, but what does it look like for the generations to come? Because we have a duty of care to make sure that we're setting up, because we want to be a community that is attractable. We want a community that people want to live in, that we have nice things. And I know all those are difficult when we start talking about public finances. It's hard to do that. And the changing climate that we have in the economy and the farming market, all those things I know are hard, but those are decisions that the community has to make and what it looks like for the future. So Other,
Get a second.
Go ahead.
Before we done today, I want to speak on Liberal High School. I'm the activities director at Liberal High School, and we depend on the.
I do like that you got up after all the comments came in. Now, we're done for the night. USD 480. So no, I'm just teasing. Go ahead.
No, I just want to speak on Liberal High School. We do depend on the community for a lot of things. We depend on Billy's for the bowling alley. We depend on the city for the baseball, softball fields. We depend on the college for the swimming pool. So the community helps Liberal High School a lot, and without the swimming pool, we will essentially not have our swimming programs. There's a lot of kids, boys and girls that came here tonight just to advocate for Liberal High School and how much it means to us. My job is to get as many kids participating in sports as we can. And this is a big thing in helping our kids get that participation part. If we didn't have a pool, I don't know what some of these kids would do. I don't know if they, get in more trouble or not participate in any sports. But just having this swimming pool is a big advocate for the Liberal High School, and I think it's certainly a need for our kids at Liberal High School. So.
Thank you. Joy?
I just want to add, and along the lines of what some other people have said too, is that one thing I want to emphasize about swimming is that it's a lifelong fitness thing. You can start swimming when you're a baby, and you can swim when you're 80 years old. You can't play football and you can't play basketball when you're 80 years old or 40 years old usually. Yeah, you might do it once. Might be on a scooter later or something. Sorry for asking.
No, it's fine. A little too soon, but it's fine. Go ahead.
But you can swim forever. And no matter your fitness level or injuries or things, you can swim. When I was 70 pounds heavier, I could still swim with confidence and without worrying about injuring myself. So to me, swimming is a really important opportunity, and it's something that, again, is lifelong fitness that so many of the things we invest money into aren't.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why I feel like it's a worthwhile investment. And also, I'm glad you mentioned the scuba, because I'm one of the lucky people who has gotten scuba certification in our pool.
Yeah.
And when I was in Hawaii scuba diving, and it was my first real scuba dive, and I was telling everybody that because I was nervous, and they said, well, where did you take your class? And I said, Liberal, Kansas. I got some funny looks. It's a unique opportunity to be in landlocked
Sure.
Kansas and be able to take a scuba.
Absolutely.
So I'm grateful that I had that opportunity.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Joy. It is, and it's interesting when we start looking at, reducing options as a community, and that's one of the things I don't know. Back to the kids. That's one of my biggest fear. I love everyone in this room, and that's not. But I really, you start talking about taking away someone's kid's ability to do a sport. It's like closing the basketball gym. There's some basketball players that would be, wait a second, what are you doing? And so I think that hits with a lot of us when we think about that. So
I know I've doubled my roster in the last 2 years. And by telling these girls, if you don't know how to swim, come, we'll teach you, because it's a life lesson to go to swim.
sorry, yes, go ahead.
You're good. I'm the head coach for Piranhas. I'm assistant boys coach at the high school. I've swam here since I was for like over 10 years. And I think it's not really a question of like the pool closing, because I don't think that's an option in the community. We live in a pretty large city. Well, not large, but we live in a city that has, 20,000 people? That city not having a pool, I feel like it should almost be embarrassing, because I teach kids how to swim, I was taught how to swim here, I swim competitive. It's not an opportunity that you should take away from anybody, but especially from kids. I get it, we live in Kansas, it's not like somebody's gonna drown all of a sudden in a tsunami in liberal Kansas. But it's a skill you need.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
objectively, you should
Yeah.
probably learn how to swim.
Sure.
It's good for your health, it's good for you, and I think the city and the college and everybody has an opportunity to figure it out, because that pool needs I've swam here long enough, that pool needs updated.
Sure. Thank you for that. It's interesting. So we had a sports development company on campus looking at some projects last fall. Just real informal conversation, and we said, hey, come look at our pool and kind of see if you have any ideas, and just real informal and not a bid or anything. Just kind of look at it and see what you think, and it'd be interesting because I haven't had a reason to dive in this anymore, but but I'm going to now after this conversation because, and I think Dan was with me when we were walking. I think they told me that they had, in the last 3 years, at community colleges, they have filled in 34 pools across the country. This is one company. And it'd be interesting because the next thing I'm going to want to know is out of those 34, how many communities made that decision to step up as a group and build? Because that would be that second part of the deal. Because a lot of your community college pools were originally built in that community college growth, which we saw in the 1970s. That's when community colleges boomed, and so it's just kind of interesting. And so it'd be interesting to get the name of those cities and then do some research and see if they have a different venue that they're using or what was the outcome in those situations. So, yes.
I'm Betty Glenn. I worked at Seward County for 30 years.
Thank you for that. What'd you do?
I work in the business office.
Wonderful. I've heard your name, but I didn't know for sure what you did. So.
During that time, I would reward my son and my daughter by letting them go swimming in the afternoon during the summer. They look forward to their afternoons in the pool. My daughter got her lifeguard certificate and worked at the pool while she was a student here and during the summers. I started taking aqua aerobics after I retired from Seward County, and I've enjoyed the class and benefit from the exercise. I would recommend the class to everyone. SCCC pool is valuable to Liberal and the surrounding community.
Thank you, and I fully agree with you. But thank you for sharing that and sharing your personal story. We greatly appreciate it. So, I should introduce her. Carla is she has probably the unfortunate blessing of being my admin assistant. So she's taking notes, so that way we don't miss any of these comments, and we're able to compile a clean report for everyone. So thank you for sharing that.
Brad, I want to make a side note on the fact that he was talking about how his roster has doubled in swimming. Well, I was talking earlier about how we've been doing this since 18. The first year that we did the swimming event here was just a lock-in, quick little thing that was like probably maybe 30 kids to go from that to what we have this weekend of over 200 people gracing this campus, maybe traveling it a little bit. Is part of the reason that, and part of it is because we offer the swimming and we offer a BSA swim test, which is required by scouts to have every year if they want to get to go to camp. So it's like, they're like, we have to be there because nobody offers it in February of all things. So, because otherwise they're scrambling at the end of the school year going, where are we going to go swim? Where are we going to go swim? And I've even had the conversation with a few of the leaders saying, hey, you remember that thing that we had? I think we had something over there in Liberal that we offered. It's a really cool place called Seward County that we have a pool at. So, to advocate on the fact, that things double. We're growing in size just for simple fact.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. So I had not slept last week because my foot pain, I know, I'm whining, I'm a baby, I get it. So Friday night I finally slept, and I had an early meeting up here, and I forgot you guys were coming. And I walked on campus, and my first thought was we had a homeless camp move in, because we had these tents all over. And I was like, I'm about to figure out who all these people are, and I'm about to email the board, and I'm going to have a whole different situation on my hand. And then I was like, it's the Boy Scouts. And I was like, oh, that's a good picture, and I posted after that once I realized what was happening. So, but. Yeah. So I was half asleep walking up here, and I went, that escalated quickly. It really did. So, Jose?
My turn, I guess. Jose Lara got the honor to be mayor of Liberal this year. The commission has not taken up this issue yet, so I cannot have an official stance on it. But I can represent what the city manager has told me, since he has some authority to make some of these decisions. For the current pool, the city is not interested in maintaining it or taking it over, but we are very interested in beginning the process to work together to create a new facility that can be. The city doesn't really want to be in charge of the new facility, but we may have that in those discussions. But we are very interested in making a new facility that can service this community, both as a sports center, an event center, something that everyone can use. So again, not been taken up by the commission. That is just the stance of myself and the city manager, Rusty Garnado. we will work with you.
I wasn't going to put Rusty under the bus like that, but you did it, so no, I'm just teasing. But Rusty and I had some text messages in the last 10 days that have alluded to that fact. That I think, like I said, I think the appetite for a partnership has developed. I think that, I think one of the hard issues in a problem like this is really for our current pool is to quantify, numerically assign a value to that pool. It's a hard thing to do. And so I think that the more conversations we have, the more we learn about our community, I think that makes it easier for us to express the need of something like that. And so, Rusty's alluded to that fact, so I appreciate those comments. So, yes?
One thing I was wondering, if you're going to do a new pool, is it going to be on campus here, or is it going to be somewhere else?
So there's a lot that happens between then and there. And Liz, don't throw a chair at me for saying this, and Danielle, if we're in charge of the pool, my preference is going to be that's on campus, so we can staff it and maintain it. Yeah. So there's a lot of.
I can understand wanting to have some help, but golly, it's still Seward County.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to state myself. I was the first student in 1969 to attend Seward County Community College.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
And people don't know that was the first class.
Yep.
And me and wife, we kind of bleed Seward County.
I appreciate that.
So I think it needs to be on campus if you build a new pool.
I agree.
I can't see having to go for the college, for people having to go somewhere else, get in their cars or find their buddies or whatever.
Sure.
Because not all students have got transportation.
Sure.
We
Sure.
were booster parents for
Sure.
some international tennis teams and basketball players, and they didn't have any.
Yeah.
Didn't have transportation. We was their transportation.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it needs to, if you're going to do a new one, I feel like it needs to be here on campus somewhere.
Thank you for that, and thank you for your support. Yes.
Yes, I just have a quick question. What do you need from us as a community to help support this?
So kind of those next steps, and I think, obviously, this is an important topic. I'm not, we can all agree this was an important topic and a conversation that we needed to have, because speaking on behalf of the trustees, when you see something constantly breaking, you're seeing us constantly dump resources into it. Why? What's the purpose, right? And so this is step one, and I've had a lot of wonderful conversations. I've had a lot of letters, explaining how they feel. I think that next step is we're gonna go back to the table and engage the other entities, and we'll have to make some kind of formal plan, some kind of formal timeline, because this is the first. If we go down the road of building a new indoor pool as a group, this is the first of many conversations that we have to have, because there's a whole bunch of other planning aspects that are going to come into play on what does that look like, what do we need, what other items do you do, because there is economies of scale when you get down that. How do you finance it? How do you pay for it? What does MOUs look like? What's our roles? And so I think that's all coming. I just didn't, for me to be able to tell my board, this is what I think we should do. I needed to have a community conversation, and I'm always going to invite the community to give me feedback on what we're discussing. So there's nothing I need you to do now. I think that work's probably coming as we develop visioning groups and we start talking about what this might look like. I think that's when we're going to need some volunteers to step up and serve on some committees to make that happen. So
do you think if the numbers went up dramatically, would that be more data that you could take back?
So, that's one question I had. I don't want to get lit up about our facility tonight, because we're already at an hour. But that's one question I have, is why are our numbers down? Is it because it's down for repairs? Is it, what are, and we don't know those answers in here, because you guys are all using the pool, so it's important to you. But why aren't the youth using the pools like they used to? Why is that? And the next step is, what could we do to engage them? I think, the underwater Easter egg hunt's a great idea, and we're doing some things to try to engage the youth. But what does that look like? And I had a community member tell me the other day, well, we used to have our birthday parties there, but your facility's crappy now, and we don't want to come there anymore. So we don't have our birthday parties there. We go to the hotel and have our birthday parties at it. And so those are the type of conversations that we need to have. Is if our numbers are low, is it our facility? Is it that the locker room maybe is not as nice as it could? Is that the issue, or is it? And so I think those are obviously, if we had 600 people a year using that pool, that number is a little bit easier for the board to. I think the appetite would be better. It would be better for me. And then, again, it's not that number. I think if we were spending that money and there was an economic impact coming into our community, that's a lot easier thing to sign up for. I think how many business owners do we have in town, right? We have a few. I think if I said, Kelly, look, we're spending this money, but you're going to get $3,000 in sales of people eating at your bowling alley, you'd probably be, oh, well, at least we're getting something for it, right? But versus we're doing this and we're not bringing anyone from outside the community in, that makes it a lot tougher. So I don't need, your work's coming. We're not there yet. So you're not off the hook, but it's just not tonight that you have work to do. Yes?
It's intriguing to watch them come not only, because swimming obviously is about their own footwear, improving their own time, and setting their own time. Of course, if we have a larger group, which I'm not from here, I just moved 4 years ago, and so my oldest son's playing in Great Bend. So they only have like 12 swimmers, but local high school had a whole bunch more swimmers, so even though the number was bigger, they ended up in a higher spot at West. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, to me it's important because my kids, some of them aren't coordinated. Some of them aren't, I have 8-year-old twins, I have a 13-year-old, and I have an 11-year-old. My 11-year-old is with me tonight, she's doing amazing, and she made the districts last year. But it's also coming to the college and seeing these other students that are, like,
sure,
getting their ideas rolling in their head about college and about college sports and what do you want to strive for and what do you want to go for. And I get anxiety when I talk, so I think that's all I have to say. But I do think it's very important, and I do think that my kids benefit a lot from it.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Yes?
Yeah, I think we ought to include a polar bear club in that too, instead of Easter eggs.
I like that. As far as what decision? So now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I joke around a lot, and I try to push us to be quicker. Higher ed, a lot of times, is like turtles in a peanut butter patch. That we walk a little bit, and then we get caught eating the peanut butter, and we don't make a decision. And I try to make us not get in that trap. But if you look at us, USD 480. The city, I don't know if the county would have interest. I have no idea. But you're talking about public entities that would take time. March 1st is Friday somehow. I didn't realize that till last week when I was working on the calendar, and I didn't know where March came from. I'm still working on my summer list for the college from last summer, and now I have a new summer list. I would envision that we would have a community task force, a group, developed later this spring. With maybe some feasibility studies done, hopefully by mid to late summer, so we could start getting some clarity of what this partnership might look like, the community support for it, and some of those types of things. So there's not a hard fact to say we're going to make a decision. I think if the college was venturing down the path to where I was going to make the recommendation to the board, the board of trustees can decide to close the pool tomorrow, and they can decide to fire me tonight. That's all within the realm of what they do. But if I was recommending to the board of trustees to close the pool, I'm months and months and months away of more research and data and reports before I would even be comfortable making that recommendation. So there's not, and I know you don't know me very well, so I'm asking the community to trust me. For those of you that don't know me, I'm very transparent. I'm not going to sneak this on agenda at the last hour. And, oh, hey, we're going to amend the agenda. Let's vote to close the pool real quick. And then you read about it in the newspaper. That's not how we function. Nothing that we do functions in that way. I think in my time here, I've amended the agenda once or twice. And it was, Carla, what did we amend the agenda for? It was because there was something very minor. I forgot to change the board date because I was going to be in DC. So that's why we amended the agenda. So we're not going to sneak something on there and then you're going to read about it in the paper. In the event this found this way onto the agenda, it would be very public known. All of our meetings are public. Everyone's invited to attend. So it wouldn't be, we're not going to pull one over on anyone. That's not what, and honestly, if we're going to do that, I wouldn't be doing this. There wouldn't be any point of this conversation that we're having. So, yes.
I just have some general thoughts about how swim may be taking a dip, and I don't know if it's cleaner or not. But weightlifting, more of the pro sports have had publicity lately, like indoor fitness centers and weightlifting, pickleball, which I don't even know how to play, but there's just kind of some new things that have come up at the side, plus travel. But when more students get the idea that if they're good at these sports, then they can travel also, I think that they will get into a little higher plateau. Because maybe we have dipped, if our facilities have dipped a little. We do have a grandson, and I truly was a lifeguard at the Liberal Pool when it was new. I wasn't number one or in any way at all. I was probably 10, far down the list. But part-time, in fact. But it got popular, and other things got activities too, and people bowled and did other things. But there's just a great uplift on new facilities. And I must see also, the new styles in architecture and planning for these little activities on the side in the same area. And I don't know what's coming with the land that has been for sale and apparently sold. We don't know out here in this audience what the overall plan is for the land out here that you all have leading over to the new church.
We haven't sold any land yet. It's for sale right now. Yeah, we right.
But anyway, there's just more on the outside right now that's colorful and appealing than on the inside when something gets 50 or 80 years old.
Sure.
Everything does.
Sure.
So that's just a general observation that I think it can perk up, and there are important needs with scouts.
And I do, and it's not taking away from anything else. I think to your point, I think I read the other day, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the world right now. And so pickleball wasn't a thing, or at least we didn't know about it very long ago. And so I do think that, when you have something growing quickly, it takes away from other activities. And so I think that's a very good point. So, other comments? Okay. First of all, I just want to restate again, thank you. It's not first of all, last of all. We're not starting over. Last of all, thank you for being here. I thoroughly appreciate your support. I think everyone has my cell phone. I can give it to you now if you want to. Again, I can give it to you. Ron's going to throw a book at me because I promised Ron when he hired me back that I would change to a liberal number. And I went and checked. I got that number in 2001, and I have so many students that call me, former students that call me on that number. I still haven't switched, so I know he's going to cringe when I put my 303 area code out there. But I'm happy to give it to you if you don't have it. I know we pushed it out on social media. It's everywhere I can think. If you want to have a one-on-one conversation, if you have other questions, comments, just please contact me. I think as you get to know me better and I work with you, I'm a very reasonable down-to-earth person that I don't believe I have all the answers. I'm just trying to do the best that we can and make our college and our community something that we're proud of. And so, and like I said, I don't say this jokingly. This is I was very comfortable in my role at Colby Community College. I was very happy. This was the only job I was interested in leaving for. And this is the only president's job that I have ever went after. And so I'm ecstatic to be here. My family and I love Liberal. We love Western Kansas. We attend a lot of events. My daughters I have one child who is the sweetest thing on the planet, and then I have a terrorist. And so it's a very interesting environment. So, but we love being here, and so I appreciate the support. I appreciate the support of our Board of Trustees and our staff, and echo Danielle and Liz and their work in the maintenance and everyone that's working. But and not even pool related, use my cell phone for whatever you need. I'm here to help you. I know we're not always going to agree. I get that, but I just want to make sure that we're making a decision that sets us up for the next 50 years in our community, something that we're proud of.